An hour or so ago that we're sitting here having a day meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Miranda.
Here.
Maniscalco. Hurtek.
Here.
Young.
Here.
Vieira. Carlson. Clendenin.
Here.
We have a physical quorum.
Thank you. Do we need an agenda cleanup? We're good as published? Okay, can I get a motion to approve the agenda? We have a motion from Councilman Miranda, second from Councilman, a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Can I get a motion to open the 501 public hearings? I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco. I have a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Here we go. Item number 1.
Danny Collins with the Planning Commission staff. Today I'll be presenting item 1. It is TACPA 2518. It is for the property located at 3602 West Euclid Avenue. This is a privately initiated amendment. It's small scale in its size. It's approximately 0.29 acres, and the request is to change the future land use from residential 20 to the community mixed use 35 designation. The subject site is located in the South Tampa Planning District, specifically in the Fair Oaks, Manhattan neighborhood, and it is shown here on our map. The subject site is located at the southwest corner of West Euclid Avenue and South Himes Avenue. It is outlined in this yellow color. There are a mix of houses along West Euclid Avenue, as well as some offices along this portion of West Euclid. To the north, we have some single-family homes. I do want to note it is directly adjacent to Britton Plaza, which has, as you know, commercial uses currently. This is looking at the subject site. This is looking south of the subject site towards Britton Plaza. This is looking directly west of the subject site along West Euclid Avenue. This is looking east of the subject site at the intersection of West Euclid Avenue and South Himes Avenue. This is looking south of the subject site along South Himes Avenue. Here is the adopted future land use map. As you can see, the subject site's recognized under the residential 20 designation, which allows low to medium density residential up to 20 dwelling units per acre, allows anything from single family detached to single family attached, and multifamily dwellings. That R20 is found predominantly along Euclid Avenue here. Again, directly to the south and southwest of the site is Britton Plaza, which is recognized under the CC 35 designation. Along Himes Avenue, we do have some CMU 35 located just to the east of the subject site. And then I do want to note that this parcel here was redesignated from R20 to CMU 35. I believe it was last year. It's the same exact request that is before you today. And then we do have this residential 10 neighborhood to the north. Here is the proposed future land use map recognizing the site under the community mixed use 35 designation. So that's a medium density intensity mixed use category, allows a range of uses from residential to commercial general type uses. Under the existing residential 20 designation, the site can be considered for 4 dwelling units or just over 6,300 square feet of non-residential uses. Those would be limited to neighborhood commercial type uses, and the site would need to meet locational criteria. As proposed, the request would allow up to 8 units or just over 25,000 square feet of non-residential uses. This amendment would increase the density intensity on the subject site and would also introduce the potential for commercial general uses on the site. The Planning Commission reviewed the request and found it consistent with several policies of the comprehensive plan, particularly those related to compatibility, scale, and massing. This would allow the same FAR as Britton Plaza to the south west of the subject site. And it was also found consistent with policies that promote densities that support transit and a mixture of uses. As you know, there is transit, a transit stop located at Britton Plaza, and they found it consistent with those policies. And based on those considerations, the Planning Commission recommended that the request be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Tampa Comprehensive Plan. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Does council have any questions? Hearing none. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Council. Alex Shaler, 400 North Ashley Drive. I have a very brief presentation. To provide a little bit more context on the amendment that Danny mentioned, we represent the owners of Britton Plaza, Brixmore Property Group. Weirdly, this little yellow stub out at the top of their property had a designation of residential. So we came before you all, you probably remember that, some point last year, as Danny mentioned, and changed that same exact request from R20 to CMU 35. About 2 weeks before we had this hearing, I got a call from the property owner of the subject site outlined in teal. He said, hey, I heard this amendment's going forward, like, can I include my land? And I was like, well, it's a little too late, but we can file a new application. It seems like the one that Brixmore filed was well accepted by staff and Planning Commission board. So that's what we did. So, and he has filed this not specifically for the CMU 35, but this has a companion rezoning to commercial general. So that's the real reason we have filed this amendment. Currently, the site is zoned residential office 1. RO1, so office uses are allowed, small collection of commercial uses, but the property owner, he's an attorney, he owns the law firm that's on site today, and just wanted the flexibility in the future to kind of open to that broader menu of commercial uses. So that's the reason for the rezoning, and then hence this accompanying comprehensive plan. We feel there's inherent justification for this. There are residential properties north of Euclid, but south of Euclid, it's trending very commercial. And this is at the intersection of two collector roads as well. And staff found this consistent, and the Planning Commission board also found this consistent, and that's all I have, but I'm happy to answer questions.
Does council have any questions of the applicant? Hearing none. Very good. Does anybody in the public wish to speak to this item? We have a motion to close from Councilman Maniscalco. We have a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? Ayes have it. Councilman Carlson, would you like to read this one?
Move item number 1, file number TA CPA 25-18, ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, ordinance amending the Tampa Comprehensive Plan, future land use element, future land use map for the property located at 3602 West Euclid Avenue from residential 20 R20 to community mixed use 35 CMU 35, providing for repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, providing effective date.
We have a motion from Councilman Carlson, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, motion carried unanimously with Vieira absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on May 21st, 2026 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
We are moving right along. Item number 2. Because I don't believe in jinxing.
We should have a presentation submitted. If not, I can just plug my laptop in.
Let's see, if CTTV, do we have something on item number 2? Here. Yep, it's coming up. Okay, you can say, start with your name and it'll come up there as well.
Awesome. Quinn Steele, Planning Commission staff. This item is TACPA 2519, which is a map amendment for the Mosey site located at 4615 and 4801 East Fowler Avenue. The request before you is publicly initiated in small scale, covering approximately 11.25 acres, and the request is to change the future land use designation from light industrial and public semi-public to a unified public semi-public designation. Here's a general location map. The subject site is located in the University Planning District, the Terrace Park neighborhood, and the Tampa Green Tech Corridor. This aerial shows the subject site outlined in blue with the adjacent publicly initiated plan amendment, TACPA 2520, outlined in pink. The site sits just south of East Fowler Avenue and USF. Immediately to the east is a daycare center with commercial and multifamily uses located further east across North 50th Street. To the south and west are industrial lands within the Tampa Industrial Park, which continues south towards the Greco softball complex and nearby single-family neighborhoods. Just beyond the frame to the northeast are the unincorporated Hillsborough County and Temple Terrace jurisdiction, and a more zoomed-out aerial is shown in the staff report. This is a photo looking at the subject site along East Fowler Avenue. Looking west on East Fowler Avenue, and the subject site's on the left. The daycare located directly east of the subject site. Looking northeast at the intersection of East Fowler Avenue and North 50th Street. And looking east on North 46th Street towards the vacant industrial land to the south. The adopted future land use map designates the site as public semi-public, which supports public serving uses, and light industrial, which allows uses such as light manufacturing and warehousing. To the south and west is primarily heavy and light industrial within the Tampa Industrial Park. There are also a few pockets of CMU 35 in this area, which were created through individual plan amendments spanning from 2005 to 2023. Further south is recreation open space, which again is that Greco softball complex, which then transitions to residential 10. To the north and east are public semi-public uses, including USF and a daycare. To the northeast, outside of the city, is the Hillsborough County Residential 20 designation, and that's along the east side of USF and the Brown. And then further east in Temple Terrace, the area is residential 9, and commercial uses are closer to East Fowler Avenue. And then this map shows a unified PSP designation for the entire Mosey site. The site is currently split between light industrial and public semi-public. The light industrial portion does not allow residential development and could accommodate just over 400,000 square feet of non-residential development. The public semi-public portion does not have defined maximums for residential or non-residential development. Under the proposed amendment, the site would have a unified PSP designation, which means there would no longer be defined density or intensity maximums, and future development would be guided by the type of public or public supporting use proposed and its compatibility with the surrounding area. We sent this out for agency review and did not receive any objections to the request. The Planning Commission found the request aligns with the Green Tech Corridor policies and the University Planning District, which recognizes this area as a major center for education, research, and employment. The land is publicly owned, and the proposed designation supports the continued use and reinvestment in that longstanding institutional use. It's also consistent with policies that encourage public amenities, since Mosey provides educational and community-serving facilities that benefit the broader area. With that, Planning Commission recommends that the proposed map amendment be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Tampa Comprehensive Plan, and I'm available for any questions.
Does council have any questions? Hearing none. Applicant, welcome back to Tampa City Council chambers.
Good evening, City Council. Julia Mandel with the Hillsborough County Attorney's Office. I am here in my capacity as a land use lawyer representing Hillsborough County on this comprehensive plan amendment. I also have with me Greg Horwoodell, who is the Deputy County Administrator, and John Muller, who's standing with me, who is the Director of Facilities Management and Real Estate Services for Hillsborough County. This is the first of two comprehensive plan amendments that you have this evening regarding the entire Mosey property. The premise behind this particular application is, if you would note from what you saw from the staff's report, is right now Mosey sits with a split designation. Part of it is light industrial, part of it is public semi-public. This would true that up and ensure that those properties that are intended to remain in the public domain, such as Mosey and the future field house project, which some of you may have heard something about, are remaining within the public domain. But it is also the intent that the overall project, even though you'll hear about that in the next application, this portion of the project and the property is intended to serve as an anchor for that future development. And so we would agree with staff's presentation. The Planning Commission did make a determination that this was approvable and recommended approval, and we would just simply ask for your support in this application and would be available for any questions that you may have.
Does council have any questions? Hearing none. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody in the public wish to speak to this item? Okay, come on up. So start with your name once you get to the podium, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Charles Love, Terrace Park. First of all, I'm not opposed to, I'm rather excited about the project coming up, but I do have a few concerns. The main concern that I would happen to have is the fact that, the fact is to do with the new fire rescue station that's going to be nearby there, and that traffic is not tied up with emergency traffic tied up, trying up the traffic, especially when combined with the USF Stadium. As part of the Terrace Park Neighborhood Association, first of all, we'd like for you all to come and talk to us, the planning people to come and talk to us, and to the city of Temple Terraces. It will affect their lives as well, as I have mentioned, as well as ours in Terrace Park. Also that that everybody, I also kind of hoping that we at the Terrace Park Neighborhood Association can facilitate work, let's say, is creating liaisons between the new fire rescue station that's going to be near there, over near Greco Park, and also the Moshi development, maybe if we're lucky over the stadium too. It would be helpful to have everybody on the same page of the book in order to have, well, as I put at Temple Terrace 2 nights ago, to maximize potential and minimize problems, which is I'm crossing my fingers about, in particular with traffic problems, but I don't think it would be the only problem that we have. One of the things we have talked about is inviting, well, Councilwoman Hurtak has been to our meetings, and and we would like other, especially you, Mr. Chairman, to come to our meetings, all that. Our next one is going to be on May 20th at the Temple Terrace Library at 6 o'clock in the evening, if you can arrange it or something like that, as kind of the chairman, or with Lewis not here tonight, obviously, and moving on and all that. So we can come and talk to you, and you get to meet us and all that, and hear what we have to say. Of course, we'll be also interested in hearing what the progress is by that time about the Ray Stadium too, if you have anything at that time as well. But let me not divert from the subject. But anyway, the main thing is that we love to help facilitate you all between the people from MOSI and the people from the fire rescue people, help create liaisons that will make things safer and better for everybody there.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I've actually been to 2 of your meetings, but I'm happy to come back up again.
I think you might be thinking of University Park.
No, I've been to him.
Oh,
I've been there twice. Applicant have any rebuttal on that?
Thank you. The only thing I did want to indicate is that Mr. Mueller with the county has already spoken with the gentleman and gotten his contact information, and it's certainly our intent to facilitate all the conversations that we need, not just for our part of the project, but for the overall development.
Okay, very good.
And that was going to be my question, because Terrace Park actually has just recently re-established itself, and that's
So I
part
went-
of the
I
issue.
went to the old
Yeah,
Terrace
you
Park.
went to the old Terrace Park. So,
Okay, very
so yes, so you should go visit the new.
I'll visit again.
But I think that might be why, because they were in the middle of the reorganizing, but I'm glad you were able to connect, because that was going to be my question.
Absolutely. We will. We intend to do so.
Just to make sure we're good, is there anybody else in the public that wishes to speak this item? Okay, we have a motion to close from Councilman Miranda, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Councilwoman Young, would you like to read that, please?
Yes. File number TACPA 25-19. Ordinance being presented for first reading consideration. Ordinance amending the Tampa Comprehensive Plan, future land use element, future land use map for the property located at 4615 and 4801 East Fowler Avenue from light industrial LI and public semi-public PSP to public semi-public PSP, providing for a repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, providing for an effective date.
I have a motion from Councilwoman Young. I have a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Item number 3. Oh, I'm sorry. She's got to read the second for the next one.
Motion carried unanimously with Vieira being absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on May 21st, 2026 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Sam, come to council chambers, please. Samuel, come to council chambers. Yeah, go ahead. Find Sam for me. Item number 3.
Emily Phelan, Planning Commission staff. Item number 3 is TACPA 2520. It is located at 11315 North 46th Street and associated parcels. This is a transmittal hearing, as this is a regular scale amendment. This is publicly initiated, a regular scale. It's approximately 62.8 acres. The request is to go from light industrial, heavy industrial, public, semi-public, to urban mixed use 60 and community mixed use 35. The site is located within the University Planning District, the Terrace Park neighborhood, and the Green Tech corridor. Outlined in pink is the larger area you just heard, the Mosey site. the University of South Florida is located directly to the north. To the east, as part of the application in this corner, is the daycare. It has multifamily residential uses that are located further east across North 50th Street. To the south and west are vacant and developed lands within the Tampa Industrial Park, which transitions to the Greco softball complex and a single-family neighborhood. And just beyond the frame to the northeast are the unincorporated Hillsborough County and Temple Terrace jurisdictions. This is looking east on North 46th Street towards the subject site. This is the daycare, as previously mentioned, on the subject site at the corner of Fowler and 50th. This is looking west on East Fowler Avenue. The subject site is on the left. This is looking west on North 50th Street at the adjacent residential uses. This is looking northeast at the intersection of East Fowler Avenue and North 50th Street. This is the adopted future land use map. The subject site is outlined in black. It is designated with the light industrial, the heavy industrial, and the public, semi-public designation. And again, this is the site that you just heard to go completely to PSP. That the PSP designation is to the north of the subject site. Heavy industrial, it does exist to the south of the subject site. The existing CMU to the west, located here and here, were previous plan amendments. And moving further east along Fowler Avenue is the Community Mixed Use 35 designation, which does transition going south to the lower density residential uses. This is the proposed future land use map. Again, the site is outlined in black. It is represented with the urban mixed use 60, which is the darker purple color along this portion of the site. And this is the Community Mixed Use 35 designation of the site. Planning Commission staff had identified potential compatibility concerns in the southeast corner, and staff worked with the applicant to mitigate those impacts, which is why that request was reduced to the CMU 35 in that corner. These are the potential impacts of the subject site. Currently under the light and heavy industrial designation, residential uses are not allowed. Under the public, semi-public designation, the maximum is not defined. However, development should be compatible with the surrounding area. The site can be, and under the light industrial and heavy industrial, they can get up to just over 3.6 million square feet of non-residential uses. Under the proposed UMU 60 and the Community Mixed Use 35 designations, the site can be considered for just over 3,400 dwelling units, or just over 8.2 million square feet of residential or non-residential uses. This amendment would introduce residential density and commercial intensity where they are previously not allowed, and it would also remove the industrial uses on the site completely. This did go out for agency review. While there were no objections, the EPC did comment that the adjacent commercial and industrial uses may be incompatible with the proposed FLU amendment. The Planning Commission found the site was compatible and consistent with promoting a mixed-use development pattern as the commercial does exist along Fowler Avenue, and they also found it consistent with the compact city form strategy and with the density and allowing more residential in the area. And with that, the Planning Commission recommends that the proposed map amendment be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Tampa Comprehensive Plan. And that concludes my presentation, if you have any questions.
Okay, does council have any questions? Hearing none.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Matt Lewis with Stantec on behalf of the public-private partnership between AKP Renaissance and Hillsborough County. There should be a presentation in the queue.
It is.
Okay,
It'll come
excellent.
up here in just 1 second. You can start talking.
All right. Well, what we're here to talk about is the first step in really the reimagining of this particular district in Hillsborough County and the city of Tampa. So As I mentioned, this is a public-private partnership between Hillsborough County and AKP Renaissance. And what they're looking at is a transformative project, not to simply build a mixed-use district in the area, but to evolve the economic development role of the property from industrial to office and tourism. What we're doing is taking advantage of the existing competitive advantage in the region and beginning the process of really a generational transformation of this area from what is planned to be heavy and light industrial to something that's more tourism and university related. So the request, as Ms. Fallon already went through, is to change the land use from light industrial and heavy industrial and public semi-public to urban mixed use 60 and CMU 35. And what this is really doing is removing a heavy industrial impact to the existing neighborhoods in the area and replacing it with an ability to do thoughtful mixed use planning and transition away from the existing heavy industrial district and really build something that you'll see later in the presentation, fills in the university area. And so this has been industrial in your plans since it's been in your plans. In the 1960s, the area was annexed into the city of Tampa as an industrial park. And it should have been annexed into the city of Tampa as an industrial park because it was an old Army airfield that transitioned into an old airport and was effectively an industrial use. It had rail lines running through it. It had everything you would need for the development of a strong industrial area. But time changed. And I want to talk a little bit about how we got to where we are today, which is not necessarily a healthy industrial park anymore. So really the inflection point is in the 1980s. And what happened in the 1980s is the Yuengling Center opened, and Mosey moved to this location on Fowler. The Yuengling Center opened with a sold-out Alice Cooper concert and a USF Bulls basketball game on the same day, a rare doubleheader opening for the stadium. And now it's one of the biggest event venues on a university campus in the country, 300 events per year. So by the 2000s, this area was projected to build out as an industrial park. That obviously didn't happen. But that's probably a good thing because the area is transitioning already, starting with the introduction of the Yuengling Brewery and the Yuengling Center, Busch Gardens, USF itself. It's no longer an industrial park that we're thinking about. It's a regional destination with tourism anchors, Moffitt Cancer Center, which brings patients from all over the state. As well as University of South Florida, University area, which is one of the faces of Tampa. When people think of Tampa, they think of downtown, West Shore, and the university. So this is, what does your face look like? And then as time goes on in the 2010s, the Uptown Innovation District starts to reimagine this area as a mixed-use district, transit-supported, and the plans are following suit. Imagine Tampa is adopted in 2016, introducing more transit-supportive ideas. And finally, it all comes to fruition in February of this year, where the transmittal of the comprehensive plan for the city of Tampa included the transition of this particular area into land uses that complement existing anchor institutions, support entrepreneur endeavors, and promote a more sustainable, compact, and walkable environment. And that's what the UMU 60 and CMU 34 amendments you see before you are going to do. What does that mean? This is the Fowler Avenue vision. And the Fowler Avenue vision identifies these mixed-use nodes along it. And the really neat thing about these mixed-use nodes is they're coincidentally ideal spacing for BRT or transit-oriented development. And what you're seeing is Mosey just being one stop along the future Fowler line, along with the research park and the already approved innovation hub. So the area is still an economic engine. It doesn't have to be an industrial economic engine. Now it is a destination center. And the introduction of the new county field house, as well as the possibility of building an ice house in the area, really expands its economic possibilities as a tourism face for the city of Tampa. And what does this do for us in the long run is if you look at the various anchor institutions in the area and look at this site in relation to them, it turns this particular portion of the university planning area into a Park Once district. Each of those purple squares is walking distance to a parking lot or a destination. And within the very center of it is the site under consideration today. So if you were to go to any of these locations, Greco Park, the Yingling Center, the new stadium, you could park there and walk to restaurants and events at this site and go to the Mosey Museum. If you wanted to, you could park here and go to events around it. So it really brings these things together into one central place. I'm not going to read this to you.
Thank you.
We've talked about why this is evolving away from industrial, but what should it evolve to? This is the text from the plan, what it says about the University Planning District, and what it's really saying is build complete communities with opportunities for shopping, living, housing, as much as possible. So the outcomes is we're looking at realizing a new economic development engine for this area. One wasn't realized. This one we hope will be through a public-private partnership. The UMU 60 and CMU 35 amendment implement that outcome, and we hope that you'll consider transmittal of this to the state for us.
Very good. Does council have any questions? Councilwoman Hurtak.
Yes, so who technically owns this property?
Current owner is Hillsborough County.
I like the way you said current owner,
Yes.
because as this develops into a multi-use, one of the things I have to say that I'm curious about is the taxation to support this.
For the record, Julia Mandel, County Attorney for Hillsborough County. This property is currently within the ownership of Hillsborough County, both the previous and this comp plan amendment. As we proceed forward, we are going to be looking through, as a partnership, how it is best transferred to ensure there's taxability available.
Okay,
That's part of the premise of this
Okay.
entire exercise.
I just had to ask the question, so, I thought so, but you never know.
Asked and answered. Okay. Does that complete your presentation?
Yes, thank
Okay,
you.
very good. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak to this transmittal? We have a motion to close from Councilman Miranda. We have a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. And just for clarification, you all just need an affirmative vote on the transmittal. Is that all you need on this?
So
Okay.
move to transmit
Okay.
the,
Okay, very good.
move to transmit TACPA 25-20.
Okay. We have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Wait. Oh, no, you
we
don't have to.
do
There's
that.
no second.
There's nothing
Sorry.
else. We're done on that one. But normally that would be correct. Okay. We'll let everybody calm down for a minute. You're welcome to just hang out with us for the rest of the night. Just let me know where the bar is and the open tab is, okay? Okay, here we go. Go ahead, item number 4.
Item number 4 was a previously continued item, and the presentation was previously given. I can go through a presentation again if that is council's pleasure, or we can continue, like an abbreviated version.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
So I think it might be good just to quickly show, because I think these next two are connected, but just to remind us.
Okay, go ahead. On an expedited fashion, which I know you know how to do. I've watched it.
Emily Phelan, Planning Commission staff. This is TACPA 2515. It is located at 4304 North 26th Street, 4205 North 25th Street, and folio number 1567881.0000. This is privately initiated. It's small scale. It's approximately 1.36 acres. The request is to go from residential 10 to residential 20. This is the general location map. It's located in the Central Tampa Planning District, the East Tampa Urban Village, the East Tampa 1 neighborhood, and the East Tampa CRA. This is the general aerial of the subject site. The subject site is outlined in pink. The site outlined in blue is TACPA 2517, which is the related item. This to the west is the Girls Preparatory Academy. The primary surrounding area is single-family detached. This is looking at the subject site along North 26th Street. This is looking at the subject site along North 25th Street. This is looking west of the site along North 25th Street, looking at the Girls Preparatory Academy. This is looking northeast along North 25th Street. The subject site is to the right. And this is looking south at the intersection of North 26th Street and East 38th Avenue at the surrounding single-family detached. This is the subject site outlined in black. It's represented with the residential 10 designation, which is to the northeast and part of the south of the subject site. This dark color here is the residential 20 designation, and to the west is the public, semi-public designation. The subject site is outlined in black and represented with the residential 20 designation. Under the existing residential 10 designation, the subject site could be considered for 13 dwelling units or just over 20,000 square feet of non-residential uses if locational criteria is met. Under the proposed residential 20 designation, the site could be considered for 27 dwelling units or just over 29,000 square feet of non-residential uses if locational criteria is met. This amendment would result in the increase of residential density and commercial intensity. The Planning Commission found the proposed amendment consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan on the slide. It's compatible with the surrounding area. It has a transition in the density, and it ensures an adequate supply of housing. And with that, the Planning Commission recommends that the proposed map amendment be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Tampa Comprehensive Plan. And that concludes my presentation.
Does council have any questions? Hearing none. Applicant.
Good evening, Council. Steve Michelini. You may recall that at our last meeting, we were asked to conduct a neighborhood meeting, which the Planning Commission staff and we participated in, and it was fairly extensive. We listened intently with all of their questions, and although it's not part of this presentation, but many of the questions that came out of that meeting involved subsequent development issues and not the change from R10 to R20. The Planning Commission staff and the Planning Commission found it to be consistent. It was, as I said, we have the joint neighborhood meeting. That consideration meets all of the criteria for consideration to change from R10 to R20. It is immediately adjacent on the south side to R20. The proposed project, when it comes to you as a rezoning, will address a number of different issues. It's in close proximity to a transit transit corridor, and the needs and all of the development proposed in the future will be compatible with the surrounding area. It will clean up a number of deficiencies in the area. It needs to be identified. It was identified and supported in the long-term goals and objectives of the City of Tampa, the Planning Commission, and CRA, all of which have indicated it was consistent with their objectives. Going forward, it will approve. It will come forward to you as a planned development, which is the only way that we can address a number of neighborhood issues. That's both on-site and off-site. Ultimately, the goal is to do no harm and to create no adverse conditions. And we are respectfully requesting your approval to increase the allowable density. And this is not a development plan per se, but it gives the opportunity for increased development in this area, which would be a transition between the allowable R20 on the south and the R10 that goes on the north side. It is deficient in transportation, which will be addressed through this project, and the development will be addressed, as I said, through a rezoning. It is compatible, it was found to be compatible and consistent with all of the reviewing agencies, and I respectfully request your approval. We'll be happy to answer any questions.
Council have any questions? Hearing none. Is anybody in the public who wishes to speak to this item? Come on up. Start with your name, please.
Hello, my name is Devin Izette. Is this projector working?
Yep, if you just put it up, face up.
Okay.
and it will come on automatically. We can see it. It'll come
Okay,
up,
I
it'll
have
come up
brought
there.
with me a copy of the comprehensive plan, which I believe that this does not agree with. So if you look at land use policy 9.5.2, is to maintain the character of a single-family residential area and discourage the demolition of single-family residences. And 9.5.4, to utilize the categories to maintain current density and the characteristics of single-family areas. Now, I bought my first home in this neighborhood specifically because it was a single-family residential area. I love Tampa. I want to start a family here, and I'm immediately adjacent to this property. And there was a
Hold
house
on
on
one
this
second.
property.
On the top of that projector, on the very, very tip top, all the way on the top, no, we have on the arm up there, on the very top. There's a wheel, it'll scroll out so you get the whole thing. There you go.
So this is a picture of a house that was right next to me. I watched contractors refurbish this house, and is on this property. And then they refurbished this house, and then they put it up for sale, and it was bought up and immediately bulldozed for this density project. And I think that this is a bad spot for density just because it's locations near Lomax Elementary School, Farrell Girls School, Middleton High School. The increased traffic in this area is going to be dangerous for children and pedestrians. So yeah, I don't think it's consistent with the comprehensive plan at all. Developers coming in, bulldozing my neighbors' houses, and then proposing a density project for rentable units. It's just not something that I would have never bought this house if I knew that this was going in right next to me, you know what I mean? So I don't think it's consistent with the comprehensive plan, and that's what I wanted to share tonight. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Applicant? Oh, is there anyone else who wishes to speak to this item?
Yeah, I'd like to
Okay.
speak. I'm sorry, I ran off the stairs. Last time we spoke at 9
Start with your name,
o'clock.
please.
My name is Dr. Celine Sachin, and I am a neighbor of the development. In our first meeting, I was completely against the development because I did not have the facts. Thank you, Councilwoman, thanks to you. And then I actually sent the email mobilizing everybody, the neighborhood and everything. I remember you. The city people were great explaining everything. So I changed my mind from a massive no to a massive yes. Because the way that I actually had the opportunity to look at the project, and they had 2 ponds located in it. And these ponds are really going to work with one of my concerns. I'm sorry.
Yeah, take a deep breath.
I run the stairs, literally. So one of the concerns is flooding, right? So these ponds will actually collect the water coming in from the rain, and we will stabilize our area. Also, I had the impression at the first information that I had, which was wrong, that these would be tiny little places, and that is not the case. As a matter of fact, I would gladly buy an unit in there for my sister, I'm originally from Brazil, to live there. Yes, there will be an increase in population, but that is a good thing because then you guys will have to allocate more money for our safety, to take care of our roads, to increase, there will be problems with traffic. No, because you guys will install lights. It's going to be a little bit slower, but hey, I run these stairs and I'm 50 years old. So I am in favor of the development, and I think, if I may suggest humbly, in the future, if you engage the community earlier and you explain the facts, if I had seen where the ponds were located, how the houses, like the townhouses were designed and everything, I wouldn't have said no. Also, I was humbled by a caregiver because I was knocking on doors. I wanted everybody to be at the library to see the city employees. And then an African-American woman who is a caregiver to the lady who lives at the pink house told me, hey, you know that people cannot afford expensive houses anymore. And then I was like, here I am, white woman, preaching to the wrong people. Please approve the development. It's a very good thing you're doing.
Thank you. Would you like to speak to this item? Come on up, start with your name, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Oh, only 3 minutes. Good afternoon, I'm Victoria Williams Watson. I live the property next door where they're going to build. And I was also concerned about the traffic that's going to be coming through when those apartments or units are built, because the street right now is very narrow. And I just wondering how the traffic's going to go north to south and east to west. So that's what I was concerned about, how they're going to build this unit right there next to residential area and put this commercial property in the middle of it. That's the only concern I had with the traffic going in and out of the complex.
Thank you. Anybody else? If there's anybody else that wishes to speak this item, you can stand up against the wall and I'll call you up one at a time. Okay, start with your name, please. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Mary Grace, and actually I'm the neighbor of the gentleman that just spoke. And I have the same concern about as far as the traffic that would come about. As far as in that area, there are going to be kids walking. Now, right now, the kids walk to and from school, from Lomax as well as Middleton, as far as A.J. Farrell. And I know that as far as the kids walking from Middleton, they also have to have the policemen to come out, and especially if they start different, I guess, fights or whatever, you have the kids there. So now you're putting in a complex more or less about 13 more or less to 27, it's going to be a lot more issues. As far as the flooding comes about Devin house as well as my home. So therefore, and then too, when you're putting in all of these complexes, more or less homes, then of course our taxes are going to go up. So, and I have been living in the area for about 40 years. Okay, I was there when the home that was torn down and they bought out the property. I was there. Okay, and all the time that I've lived there, it's been a home, not multiple homes, more or less 13 to 27. I'm just really, really concerned. It's going to be too much for the area. Okay, so that's my concern.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else in the public that wishes to speak to this item? Applicant?
Council, that's why I was saying to you earlier that the issues that came up were really development issues, as opposed to whether or not this should be considered for a land use designation, a change. And that's why we spent as much time as we did with the Planning Commission staff, and also with the city staff and with the CRA, to make sure that it was compatible, because the need for housing is critical. And this is not apartments, rental, kind of high-rise things or commercial. It never was intended that way. And I don't want to get into the specifics of the development plan itself, but coming forward, you will see that it accounts for the buffering, it accounts for the traffic, it accounts for the drainage, it accounts for all those things that are neighborhood protective measures. When we started this project, we did start with some discussions with neighbors and to try to see what was going, what they thought was compatible. We know about the school. This will also accommodate, the pedestrian traffic to and from the school. So again, those are issues that we can discuss and show you in detail should this be approved when we come forward with it, a real development plan. I can show it to you, but it's not part of this presentation. And again, the discussions and the comments that I've heard this evening all relate to development and specific development, and not necessarily to whether or not an R20 designation is compatible with the adjacent R20 designation. During our discussion and meetings with the neighbors, I think they discovered, and I'll show you, that many of the houses that these people are talking about already have the R20 designation. And they didn't know it. I mean, we pointed it out to them, the Planning Commission staff pointed it out to them. So, what we're asking for is to be able to increase the R20 designation into this area here. And this is a subsequent Planning Commission initiated request that's coming forward. The woman that spoke to you lives here. So, I mean, we do have, mixed support among the neighbors. We also have concerns, and we'll be addressing those as long as council gives us the opportunity to come forward with a real development plan. I'll be happy to answer any questions, but, there are a number of Planning Commission principles that are found to be consistent in the comprehensive plan, land use objective 2.1, 2.11, multifamily residential 9.6, 9.61, 9.62, and it goes on. There are a number of pages here that relate to that. Low density multifamily residential, moderate density multifamily, adequate sites to accommodate housing found consistent, neighborhood community plans, goals and objectives. And again, the keepers of the gate have said to you that they support this and that it meets all of those criteria. We would respectfully request your approval, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
One of the public commenters mentioned commercial being built.
No, ma'am, not even under consideration. You could have neighborhood serving commercial in an R20, but you couldn't have CG or something like, not to my knowledge. But
Yeah,
there's no
Ms.
plans
Phelan.
for that. You'll see that one.
Okay.
Start with your name.
Emily Phelan, Planning Commission staff. While the commercial zoning district of CN would be allowed in here, at the rezoning stage, it would still have to meet the locational criteria for the site.
So, but because of where this site is, it would not meet locational criteria.
No.
Danny,
It's
start
on a
with your name.
residential street.
Just to clarify,
You just have to start with your name.
Danny Collins, Planning Commission staff, just to clarify, commercial neighborhood commercial and residential offices can be considered in the existing residential 10 designation today, and as well as the residential 20 designation as proposed. Both would have to meet locational criteria in the plan, and I don't
Residential streets.
believe the site would meet.
Yeah, because of the residential street, but I wanted to ask because that's how you get answers. And then my other question is, and this can be for Planning Commission staff as well. Someone mentioned, another commenter mentioned single family. But on this, with residential 20, really the highest you could do is single family attached, correct?
Emily Phelan, Planning Commission staff, correct.
So we're not looking at apartments. The most it could be is single family attached.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none. Very good.
To lose my presentation.
Okay, yeah. We have a motion to close from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilwoman Hurtak. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Councilman Maniscalco.
Put them on pause with the remote.
I did.
Okay. I have an ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, ordinance amending the Tampa Comprehensive Plan future land use element, future land use map for the property located at 4304 North 26th Street, 4205 North 25th Street, and folio number 156781-0000 from residential R10 to residential R20, providing for repeal of all ordinances, providing for severability, Ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilwoman Young. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
Motion carried unanimously with Vieira being absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on May 21st, 2026 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
I have one request that, that the petitioner make sure to go back to the neighborhood to discuss these plans before you bring anything back, because that's what we'll expect to see.
We'll do that.
We're closed.
Thank you.
It's closed, so just. Yeah, I know.
I'm sorry?
No, we're good, we're good. Item number 5.
Item number 5 is Emily Phelan, Planning Commission staff. Item number 5 is TACPA 2517. It's located at 4216 North 26th Street. This one is publicly initiated, small scale. It's approximately 0.25 acres, and the request is to go from residential 10 to residential 20. It's located within the Central Tampa Planning District, the East Tampa Urban Village, the East Tampa 1 neighborhood, and the East Tampa CRA. As the last request is outlined in blue, the outline in pink is the current request. This request Planning Commission staff did initiate this request as a result of the privately initiated amendment that you just heard. Just to go over the surrounding area again, it is primarily single-family residential detached, and the Farrell Girls Preparatory Academy is to the west. This is looking at the subject site.
Rigging the system.
This is looking northeast at the North 26th Street and East Genesee Street. This is looking south at the intersection of North 26th Street and East 38th Street at the surrounding area. And this is looking northwest along North 26th Street at TACPA 2515, and the subject site is to the left. This is the adopted future land use map. The subject site is located here, represented with the residential 10 designation, which is to the existing to the north and east of the subject site. To the south is the residential 20 designation, and further to the west is the semi-public designation. This is the proposed future land use map. The subject site is outlined here in black and represented with the residential 20 designation. Under the existing residential 10 designation, the site can be considered for 2 dwelling units or just over 3,800 square feet of non-residential uses if locational criteria is met. Under the proposed residential 20 designation, the subject site can be considered for 5 dwelling units or just over 5,000 square feet of non-residential uses if locational criteria is met. While locational criteria is expanded upon in the residential 20 designation, the site would still have to meet the locational criteria. The Planning Commission found the subject site consistent with the following objectives, policies of the comprehensive plan. It is compatible with the surrounding area. It has a transition and density, and it would encourage the transition and density, and it ensures an adequate supply of housing would be available to meet the needs of Tampa's present and future population. With that, the Planning Commission recommends that the proposed map amendment be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Tampa Comprehensive Plan. And that concludes my presentation, if you have any questions.
Does council have any questions? Hearing none. Thank you. Okay, can I? There's no applicant for this, right?
No, they are the applicant.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, the Planning
That's
Commission.
why I was absolutely surprised that he was getting up, and I'm hearing, okay, I'm confused. So you're coming up as a member of the public.
Yeah.
I'm a member of the public coming out, Steve Michelini.
Okay.
As again, we worked with the Planning Commission staff. We weren't able to assemble that portion of the property in our original petition. The Planning Commission staff took that on as an initiation as a publicly initiated component, and I'm here supporting that. It makes good sense. And it complements the rest of the development it may be coming forward to you. Anyway, we do not have a financial interest in the property in any respect, but I just thought it would be useful to come up and support their application. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else in the public who wishes to speak this item, come on up.
I am in favor of this one as well.
Oh, you start with your name. You always have to start with
I
names.
apologize. I'm not familiar. Serlene Sachin. I am a neighbor of the proposed, and I concur with it too. I think the logistics will be solved later on, but that land could be used for other people to live in. I have way too much housing for myself.
Thank you very much. Come on up. Start with your name, please.
Hello, Devin Izette. I just want to make it known that the property owners did not know about this rezoning until I told them about it. I guess they didn't get the letter in the mail. And they couldn't be here to speak on it tonight because of a medical emergency, but they really wanted to come and express how it was just kind of strange that the city decided to rezone their property. They said they didn't get a letter or anything, and I told them about it. They went to the library and learned about it, but they are just against getting their property rezoned from underneath their feet. They feel a little strange about that, that it was just kind of a neighbor letting them know, hey, they're rezoning your house. So that's all I wanted to say about it.
Have you spoken with staff at all about what we're doing here today on this particular issue? Have you
Yes.
talked? So you talk to staff, so you understand future land use versus zoning?
Yes.
Okay. good.
Yeah, I know you're probably gonna pass it because it'll leave.
No, I
a
mean
hole.
about what actually future land use versus zoning. I didn't know if you'd gotten that briefing from staff, what this actually
Yes,
is.
yes,
Okay,
I'm
very
clear
good.
on it.
Okay, understand, understand.
No, they did a wonderful job.
Okay, it's okay. Shh, shh, shh. It's okay, it's okay. Okay, anybody else from the public wish to speak to this item? Can I get a motion to close? We have a motion to close, Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilwoman Young. All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed, ayes have it. Councilman Miranda, would you like to read this one, please?
Item number, excuse me, item number 5, file number TA CPA 2517. Ordinance being presented for first reading consideration. An ordinance amending the Tampa Comprehensive Plan future land use element, future land use map for the property located at 4216 North 26th Street in residential from residential 10, R10 to residential 20, R20, providing for repeal of all ordinance in conflict, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
I have a motion from Councilman Miranda, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, ayes have it. Okay, the next public hearings are, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, motion carried unanimously with Vieira being absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on May 21st, 2026 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Thank you, council.
Very good, have a good night. Okay, the next public hearings are quasi judicial. They require you to be sworn in. If you're here to speak to either item number 6 or item number 7, please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in by our clerk. Item number 6. Motion denied.
Good evening, Council. Leo DeBartoleben, Development Coordination. Item number 6 is, agenda item number 6 is AB 22514. This is a special use 2 request for the property located at 1724 North Nebraska Avenue. The request is for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue classification for beer, wine, and liquor, consumption on premises only. This is the aerial map. It's on the screen here of the subject property, which is outlined in red. This property is located on the the northeast corner of North Nebraska and East 7th Avenue. This is located within the Ybor City Historic District. This is in a mixed-use corridor, and the surrounding development is of mixed use and commercial. This is the site plan that was presented by the applicant. This is East 7th Avenue and North Nebraska Avenue here. Now, this is an existing multi-tenant mixed-use building here. This is the proposed alcohol beverage location is hatched on the site plan. This is the entrance, the main entrance to the building off of East 7th Avenue, and vehicle access and parking is located south of the site or south of the building here. Now, this is an existing restaurant that operates as La Satema. They currently have an alcohol beverage sales approval for for beer and wine with a restaurant classification. This proposal will change that classification to a small venue and allow for the sale of liquor. There's a total beverage sales area of 1,536 square feet, all of which is indoors. This proposal is not including any outdoor area. I have some photos of the site. This is the north elevation of the site along East 7th Avenue. This is facing west on East 7th. The site is going to be to our left. This is facing east. The site is on our right. Facing north on North Nebraska, the site is on the left. Facing south on North Nebraska, the site is on our right. This is the east elevation of the building. This is the vehicle access and parking area to the south of the building. And this is the west elevation of the building. Development review and compliance staff did review the application and found it to be inconsistent with the applicable City of Tampa land development regulations due to the requested waivers. Minor site plan modifications will be required between first and second reading. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for questions.
Council have any questions? Councilman Miranda, did you have any questions?
No, I remember that building very well. There was a big sign on it all the time when I was a teenager, way up in top.
Yeah.
Kill your light for me. Okay, very good.
The first station built.
Okay, that concludes an applicant. Come on up.
Thank you very much, Mr. DeBartoleben. Good evening, members of the council. My name is Matthew Blydenberg. Here with me this evening is my co-counsel, Benjamin Stronzel from Fitzsimmons, Hewitt, Stronzel, and Spade. And with us on behalf of our client, La Settima Club, are two of La Settima's owners and operators, Ryan Fouché and Carl Carrasquillo. As you all know, as Mr. DeBartoleben just outlined for everybody, La Settima is here tonight seeking an upgrade of their current zoning designation for the sale of liquor for, again, consumption on premises only. They are currently zoned for the sale of alcoholic beverages, beer and wine, consumption on premises only. La Settima is located at 1724 North Nebraska Avenue, not too far from here. I imagine some of you may have had the opportunity to visit the building at some point in the time that it has been there. La Settima opened in November of 2022, beginning as a natural wine bar. Over time, they began serving different items, including craft beer and food and non-alcoholic beverages as well. To date, La Settima has had no violations with the Division of Alcoholic Beverages and Tobacco or otherwise. They have had no criminal actions brought against the business, and to our knowledge and based on our review of the record, there have been no objections made to their application that we are here today to discuss this evening for their zoning upgrade. They have the full support of their community and their patrons with whom they maintain a close relationship. In fact, as some of you may have seen, multiple community members and patrons wrote their support in public comment that was submitted to the City Council. As Mr. DeBartoleben discussed, and as I'm sure you've seen on the site plan submitted with this application, we have requested waivers. The first two relate to an issue with parking, to allow an increase of compact parking from 65% to 92%, and also to reduce the required parking spots from 18 to 15. Now, given the location of La Settima Club and the clientele that they bring in, the vast majority of its patrons and the folks that come in and have a drink at La Settima Club are usually arriving there via the Ybor City Trolley, via Uber, via Lyft, via scooter, and pretty heavily through foot traffic. The vast minority of them actually arrive using a motor vehicle, a mid-sized or large-sized motor vehicle that they park on the premises. with that in mind, those waivers that we've requested regarding parking would not put any significant strain on the flow and the function of the business for those that do choose to drive. You have also seen that we are requesting a waiver of the required distance separation from 250 feet to 197 feet from other AB sales establishments. As was included in our radius map, La Sedema is not a business, as we showed on our radius map, the only other AB designated facility within 250 feet is the Commodore. That is a live sketch and improv comedy studio that operates within the same building that La Sedema is housed in. They are currently, as well, only designated for the sale of beer and wine consumption on premises. They are not designated for the sale of liquor. And also notably, La Sedema's clientele is not a rowdy and rambunctious crowd. They are typically a laid-back, quiet gathering. La Sedema's latest hours are open only until 12 a.m. 2 nights out of the week. Approving this application would have no negative impact on the community and would only further enhance the local business district. They have the full support of their neighbors that are all held within that same building, including the Commodore that we've talked about. And on behalf of La Sedema, I want to say thank you to the council for your time, for your consideration this evening, and I am open to any questions from the council. Thank you.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
My first question is, you're not going to change the sign, right? It's still going to say bar.
Yeah.
I have to, because that's a great little shtick in the area. I love it. But I did not receive any emails. So I don't know how they got into the record because I didn't see them. So if you have a copy of them and would like to put, and so we could all read them and then we could put them in the record, that would be great because we did not receive any. So that was my only thing that I heard that I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, that's even better. Great.
My apologies. That is one of several. We have quite a few.
But if you want to just take the whole bunch, give them to Mr. Shelby there, we'll read them all and then we'll pass them in, but that's, appreciate that. And I think, my only other question has to do with the site plan. The site plan, does it have hours of operation on the site plan?
Leo DeBartolome, Development Coordination. Yes, Councilwoman, the hours of operation due to it being a commercial mixed-use corridor is Chapter 14, which is what they currently are operating under.
Okay, I thought I'd ask. Okay, thank you.
Councilman Carlson?
No, but I had the same question about hours, though. You said that the bar closed at 12. The neighbors in this larger area want to reduce the impact of it being an entertainment district or a bar district. Is it possible to make it midnight or earlier on weekdays?
Councilman, actually, to that effect, I have the full hours that are available throughout the week. They're actually closed on Mondays. From Tuesday through Thursday, they close at 10 p.m. They close at midnight only on Fridays and Saturdays, and again, close at 10 p.m. on Sundays.
I mean, is it possible, instead of Chapter 14, to limit it to 11 on weekdays and midnight on weekends?
Are you talking about for a formal limitation, or because they're already within those hours?
Just for the liquor part of it.
I mean,
That's not a problem on our part. Yeah, we're fine with that.
correct.
Can I make a friendly amendment to just
Councilman Hurtak.
put midnight, Sunday through Saturday, so 7 days a week, just in case they decide to open on a Monday?
We spent a lot of time talking earlier about noise.
Yeah.
And
But they have no outdoor space.
This is more like Encore.
yeah, but
I mean, you ever go there?
what happens is that as you start making exceptions, and then you end up with
Yeah, but there's literally nothing else there.
Not yet.
But I mean, this was like this would be it. I mean, it's a restaurant. I mean, there's nothing else there. This is, I don't know if you ever go there, but the comedy club's the only thing that's there, but it's just one building.
But anyway,
Yeah.
if you guys don't agree, that's fine, but.
I mean, I would give them the option to keep the flexibility for their use, but I mean.
Because if it's open till 3, then the problem is that it carries with a site plan, so somebody less benevolent takes it over and turns it into something else that's partying until 3 o'clock in the morning.
Mr. Chairman,
I'm sorry, Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney. You may want to ask for a clarification of staff. Based on the presentation, you had mentioned restaurant. I don't believe it will be designated as a restaurant. You said a small venue, Mr. DeBartolo?
Yeah. Small venue, they have food service, but it's a small venue.
Food service.
Not restaurant.
Yeah, yeah, correct, yes, that is.
So they said that they were okay with it. What do you guys want to do on that?
I think it's fine to do midnight, and then if they wanted, if something wants to change, they can come back and ask for hours, but if they're fine with it, my only concern is I don't want to limit you. I don't want to put, you're not open on Monday, because what happens if you want to open on Monday? And that's why I think midnight across the board is fine. That way, if you decide to stay open on another day, I don't want to pigeonhole them till 10. I think that's.
I understand Councilman Carlson's concerns that if it does get passed along, that it passes with the property. So we're okay with a midnight designation for 7 days.
Okay.
If that's okay with council.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Could I just ask one more indulgence? Charlie, could you pronounce this for them? Could you pronounce the name of the place for them?
What's the name of it? ¿Cómo se llama? ¿Cómo se llama el lugar? No te voy para acá.
Let her do it.
Is there a microphone?
No hay micrófono.
Coral Carrasquillo, and it's called La Sétima Club.
La segunda.
La
No,
Sétima.
La Sétima.
La Sétima.
La
asesina.
No, no asesina.
What's the name outside of your office on the big sign? Yeah. The big street
la
sign.
séptima.
Séptima.
Pero
Yeah.
¿cuál de ellas? Hay dos séptimas. La séptima que es de España y la séptima que los criamos nosotros.
I have
La de
completely
aquí,
lost
la de
control of
Ybor,
this
la de
dial.
Tampa.
I don't know
I
about.
completely lost control of this dial.
I don't know about you all, but when I hear it pronounced a different way,
Well, la séptima was, when we grew up, it considered la séptima, but they wanted to put la séptima.
I know.
That was in Spain, but over here, la séptima.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I have a
Is there,
sign that
is there
it costs
anybody in the
$750
audience that
anymore.
wishes to speak to this issue? Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak to this issue? We have a motion to close from Councilman Maniscalco, second from? Second from Councilwoman Young. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, the ayes have it. Okay, so, Councilman Carlson, with your amendment on time for the site plan, would you please read item number 6?
I don't have those documents. You guys?
Yeah, who had the letters?
The letter, where are the letters?
Yeah, those are the letters.
Is this it right
Yeah.
here?
No, those letters have to go into the record.
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Okay, I thought that was something else. All right,
Councilman
sorry.
Carlson, would you read item
I was
number
looking for
6
letters,
with
not
the
emails.
hours, with the hours amendment for the site plan?
And also
So
the
mo-
other changes that have been requested between first and second reading.
All right, I'll read it and then you all can add. I move number 6, file number AB 2-25-14, ordinance being presented for first reading consideration. An ordinance approving a special use permit, SU2, for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue consumption on premise only, and making lawful the sale of beverages regardless of alcoholic content, beer, wine, and liquor on that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 1724 North Nebraska Avenue, Tampa, Florida, as more particularly described in Section 3, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict are repealed, repealing ordinance number 2022-185, providing an effective date, including the hours of operation to go to midnight, 7 days a week. And what's the
Changes
other-
between first and second.
Changes between first and second reading.
We have a motion from Councilman Carlson, second from actually Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Motion carried unanimously with Vieira being absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on May 21st, 2026 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Y'all were so giddy during that one, I assume that you were drinking at that between the break.
Thank you very much, council members.
There we go. Thank you, thank you. Okay, here we go. We're still meeting, we still got one more item.
Sorry, sir. Go get out of the way.
Item number 7.
You need to reserve extra time for public comment on this one.
Yeah, exactly. Denied.
Good evening again, council and chairman. Leo DeBartolome, Development Coordination. Item number 7 is AB 22605. This is a special use 2 request for the property located at 2507 South MacDill Avenue. The request is for alcoholic beverage sales with a restaurant classification for beer, wine, and liquor consumption on premises only. The aerial map is on the screen. The subject property is currently zoned commercial intensive. It is located on the northeast corner of South MacDill Avenue and West Palmyra. This property is currently zoned commercial intensive and RM16. So it's located along the commercial corridor, and it's surrounded by mixed development of uses and commercial and residential uses. This is the site plan submitted by the applicant. This is South MacDill Avenue here and West Palmyra Avenue. Vehicle access and parking is located off of West Palmyra to the west of the building. This is an existing multi-tenant building, and this alcohol sales request is limited to the first floor of a 2-story building, and the proposed alcohol beverage sales area is outlined here in gray. The requested alcoholic beverage sales request here is already within an existing location. This property does have an existing alcohol beverage sales permit for beer, wine, and liquor consumption on premises. This proposal is not expanding on anything outside of requesting a waiver to parking, which wasn't included in the original proposal. So altogether, there's 4,260 square feet of alcohol beverage sales area, comprised of 2,894 square feet of indoor area and 1,366 square feet of outdoor area. I have some photos of the site. This is the east elevation. This is the entrance to the BT restaurant off of South MacDill. This is facing north on South MacDill. The subject property is going to be on the right here. This is facing south on South MacDill. The subject property is on the right behind us here. This is directly across the street from the corner of South MacDill and West Palmyra. This is facing north off of West Palmyra into the vehicle parking and access area. This is facing west on West Palmyra. The subject property is on our right. Facing east on West Palmyra. The building is on our left here. This is the south elevation of the building. And this is the west elevation of the building. There's a second entrance here and the existing surface parking lot. The development review and compliance staff has reviewed the application and find the request inconsistent with the City of Tampa land development regulations based on the requested waiver. Minor site plan modifications are required between first and second reading, and I'm available for questions.
Every single person that graduated from Plant High School is cringing when you say how you pronounce Palmyra.
Oh, no.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say
Palmyra.
that Councilman Miranda needs to go and give some street.
There you go. Okay, very good. Council have any questions? Hearing none, applicant.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Council. Jim Porter with Ackerman, 401 East Jackson Street, Tampa, representing the applicant. I was before you a few years ago on this exact same project, if you recall. As Leo said, nothing's changed with the footprint. We had some internal issues we needed to deal with the state with our occupancy, and we've got that clarified, so we're coming back. We do have parking across the street. The property has been used by BT, who's a well-known restaurateur, at this site since at least 2010, and she's been in the area for even longer than that. We work well with our neighbors. We don't have any opposition to this, and this is more of a cleanup kind of request than anything else. Happy to answer any questions, but otherwise respectfully ask for your approval.
Council have any questions? Hearing none. Anybody in the public wish to speak to this item?
Move to close.
We have a motion to close. Councilman Miranda, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Councilwoman Young, would you like to read item 7?
File number AB2-26-04. Ooh,
05.
sorry, hold on. Thank you. There we go. File number AB2-26-05, ordinance be presented for first reading consideration and ordinance approving a special use permit SU2 for alcoholic beverage sales, restaurant consumption on premises only, and making lawful the sale of beverages regardless of alcoholic content, beer, wine, and liquor on that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 2507 South MacDill Avenue, Tampa, Florida, as more particularly described in Section 3, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict are repealed, repealing ordinance number 2023-144, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilwoman Young. We have a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Motion carried. Motion carried unanimously, with Vieira being absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on May 21st, 2026 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Thank you. That concludes our regular scheduled program. New business. Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, Deaconess Ruby Lee Jackson, who was 96 years old from the Port Tampa Mount Zion AME Church, passed away, and the church would like us to give her a posthumous commendation. So I'd like to make a motion to give an off-site commendation.
We have a motion from Councilman Carlson, second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Next.
Just one other thing. You all saw the traffic is horrible in downtown. Again, we've had staff before us 4 or 5 times in the last few years asking them to stop interfering with traffic. I don't know what law we have to pass or something, but the administration is not listening. The mayor is personally emailing people saying, on Harbor Island, saying, it's your fault for, you guys are copying it, but it's your fault, it's Harbor Island's fault for being against my red lights, which we knew wouldn't work in the first place. And so we need to come up with a solution. If you all can somehow negotiate something with administration, that'd be great. Otherwise, I think we need to figure out how to pass some laws to prohibit them from shutting down the roads, because it's not just affecting Harbor Island and downtown. Downtown is big and developed now, and it's crushing downtown at Harbor Island, but it's also affecting all of South Tampa because it's affecting Bay Shore and Platt Street and all around your house. So we've got to solve this problem. I don't know why the administration throws up their hands. We know what the problem is. The problem is they're shutting down the road for too long to allow pedestrians to cross. Even Vic Bide said to us on the record years ago that if they just let the lights go and didn't interfere, that it would all work fine. And we need to solve a problem. It's not acceptable.
I second. It is the pedestrian vehicle management at the intersection of Franklin and Shannon.
Except what we're hearing is that the pedestrians are deciding for themselves to go. And so that's part of the problem.
Need more presence down there to manage that process then.
Or take out, I told Brandon earlier today, I think he's on vacation, but we can take out that crosswalk.
It won't stop people.
You can put up bigger walls like they've done in the rest of it, but it's not acceptable to shut down downtown because we're just letting people.
Yeah, they definitely need something there because it's problematic. I don't know what that traffic management looks like with pedestrian, but I watch it every time and I see them. Sometimes I actually resist the urge to jump out of the car and talk to the guys that are managing the traffic there, saying, "You guys got to do better," because you don't know how far because they can't see it. With the guys that are managing the traffic there, they can't see through the convention center around the corner to see how far that is backed up for miles. They don't see this happening. Is that it? Councilwoman Young, you have new business?
I already stated earlier, but just for the public, I am going to make the motion on May 7th for the honorary renaming for Frank Reddick, and it's going to be located at Williams Park Complex. So just to put that out there, I didn't make it yet. I'm making it on May 7th.
Just an announcement.
Just an announcement. And then
Oh, no, I didn't do it yet. I'm making it on May 7th, but I already sent the memo. But also, you all know that I do a whole bunch of stuff. And so I did about 15 things since our last council meeting, but I just wanted to point out a few of them. I don't know if you all have ever done the Taste of Water Street, but it was a lot of fun. I actually met a student that was working the event. I think he was from Armwood or Plain High School, but they have some program set up where they let high school students come and work the event. So we did that. Sulphur Springs Museum celebrated their 20th anniversary. Also, I did a tour of Live Oaks neighborhood, which was awesome. And then, of course, I had the East Tampa Town Hall, which went absolutely amazing. We had about 140 people there. The panel was great, and people were asking when I was going to have another one, so that was very exciting. So I have a bunch of things on here, but I just wanted to highlight a few of those things.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Councilwoman Hertag.
Yes. As you may have seen, the news that came out in both the Business Journal and the Times recently, Hillsborough County does not seem like they're going to make their deadline for the raise. We received some correspondence today from our attorney. So I move, and so I just don't know that holding a special call workshop on May 5th is prudent at this point. So this is the last chance we have to do it. So I move to cancel and remove the May 5th, 2026 Raise MOU Special Call Workshop from the calendar and to reschedule it at a later date as we get close to actually a vote.
That information in the paper is actually not correct. They're about 36 hours out of date of what's actually going on.
Our office called Scott Steady right before this, and he recommended that we not continue with this.
Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, I called, I don't know whether I'm going to vote for or against this, but I called the raise also, and they said they want the information to get out there as quickly as possible. And I believe that it's important for the public to give us feedback. We're getting anecdotal feedback, but I think it's a perfect opportunity. The city has been very little involved in this anyway, and that's why I had asked that we should have the county present instead of the city. But anyway, there's information out there. Let's hear from the public. We can always have another meeting, but let's let some steam off this because the public, for or against, is really excited to say something.
Well, again, the reason this is literally our last chance. So if we do it, I'm worried that we're not going to have any more information, and then we're just going to simply have.
Well, if nothing else, at least the race people can come and the city people can come and tell everybody what they're hearing. Councilwoman Young.
I was just wondering, when you say this is our last chance, what do you mean by that?
No, because we don't have a meeting next week, so we can't cancel it, because it's literally the next time we'll see each other is May 5th here. So if we wanted to cancel it, this would be our only opportunity. And so again, I just don't want us to meet and not have anything to say and then have to do it all over again, because this is going to be a long meeting.
Yeah, but I don't. Let's say that hypothetically that it's getting delayed. It seems like obviously because I've been very involved with and I've pushed myself into this and gotten a lot of information. So maybe more than most.
I have too.
So why don't we share that with everybody else? Because all this information is being put. It would be an opportunity for us to have everybody in the room at the same time. We have the Raise people here, the city people here, everybody here sharing it with the public. That just seems like a good idea.
But I have way more questions than I have answers, and I'm just afraid that the public's going to come, expect answers, and not get them. So that's kind of where I've been.
That'll be bad on the organization if that's what happens.
I have a question, if I may. Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney. Do we have a commitment of who's coming, and do we have knowledge of who's not coming?
Yes.
Yeah, the county's not coming.
Yeah, the county's not coming.
And what about the city?
City's coming.
Well, yeah, they'll be here. I mean, we talked about this already.
Yeah,
we have a whole list.
I have a whole list of everybody that's confirmed.
And how long is this scheduled to last? From
we didn't put a deadline.
Well, I've got time frames on each presentation, so it depends on it.
But in terms of the public,
without public comment, it will be an hour and a half. With public comment,
it'll be probably 6 to 7 hours.
I don't know. We'll see.
Why don't we just set a time?
Again, I'm worried about having something with nothing to. I watched the county presentation and it didn't give any new information.
May I, forgive me for interjecting, but I had the opportunity to hear from Scott Steady about his position yesterday. And they, I believe, are just first beginning the process of negotiations. And certainly he's not here and I can't take a position for him, but frankly, I don't know from his perspective what effect having this meeting would have on the process of negotiation. And it may have an effect, but I don't know what it is. So
The city's willing to be here, the Rays are willing to be here.
Yes, but I'm saying I'm not gonna be willing to vote by May 7th.
We're not voting on it.
Yeah.
We're not scheduling a vote.
This is just to hear initial
This is just,
feedback from the public.
this is just the workshop. This is just having discussion.
I know, but the reason we scheduled it on May 5th is because we were supposed to have a vote on May
Well,
7th.
I doubt seriously that's gonna happen, but I think this is just a good idea.
Okay, well, if y'all still want to do it, that's fine. I just didn't want us to do it if there wasn't, so never mind.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm not opposed to what you're saying. The county has, I'm sorry, I'm not speaking out of turn.
No, go ahead, Councilman.
The
Rand.
county has a lot more involvement than we do as far as financial, and we should be the second one of the apple, not the first, but it's up to you all.
Okay, so I had a motion and I had a second, and the motioner maker has said that she would remove that. Is that okay with the seconder? There's no second. Councilman Maniscalco?
I don't think there's support to move forward with her motion, so I
Yeah.
have to agree to
Okay.
pull it.
Yeah, I'm just, I will still register, even though I'm the one that made this motion, I'm still gonna register that I'm concerned that we're gonna end this and we're gonna be back where we were.
Yep.
And that's the way I strongly feel, because we've had multiple weeks of asking for more information and not getting it, because the Rays have been very concrete that they're not moving. So, anyway, I have a second motion. I move to hold space on June 25th during that workshop for the second round of the conversation on the Tree Trust Fund and the NRAC. I'll have more specific motions later,
Second.
but I want to make sure I have the space. It goes along sort of with the space of the sound study.
Right.
So I think both of those, just going into their second phase, would be a good space. Yes, there's nothing there.
Can you also say, let's close it at just those items, because we've
Yes,
seen
okay, yeah, well, I'll make that as a secondary
Okay,
motion.
very good.
So that's-
So I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Councilman Carlson.
And then I move to not take any more items for the June workshop.
Thank you. I have a motion from Councilman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Carlson. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. So we
No,
don't
I have nothing.
Don't have another three. Yeah. Councilman Moran.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman. The county is coordinated with the city regarding community development block grant disaster recovery funds. These funds are being made available from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development in response to Hurricane Helena and Milton. I would like to make a motion to have the county CDBG Director, Program Manager Mr. Robert Hendrickson. Yes, sir, to provide a 15-minute presentation of program on May 28th. I would like to, if possible, make a motion to be first item on the agenda.
I have a motion from Councilman Miranda, a second from?
Second.
Second from Councilman Carlson.
That's the workshop.
That's
Do
the May,
that.
that's the May workshop.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we could do it.
So-
Anybody have any objection to that?
I just have a question. Are they gonna tell us what kind of money we're getting and what it gets
I
go to?
I don't really know. That's why we have it coming to us.
Okay.
Okay. I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
And the second one, thank you very much, Councilmember Hurtak. The second one is I need to set a workshop, budget workshop on the schedule of August 3rd, 10th, and 17th. It's just determined you want a day or night. Night is a
There we
beach
go.
time.
The
Okay.
enterprise one you said for day and the other two for night?
Something like that.
Yeah, I think the enterprise one is fine during the day.
Okay.
That's kind of more wonky
So
and not as.
9 o'clock?
Yes.
Is on the 10th? Does that work for a start of it on Monday?
Yes, and then the
Yeah.
other's 5:01.
Okay. And then 5:01 PM for the August 3rd and the August 17th. So we have a motion from Councilman Miranda, a second from
Second.
Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
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 Do we
Opposed?
usually have to do them on Mondays?
I think we set that. We held it.
They're
I
already
think
pending
yeah,
on
we already
the
did that.
calendar.
Okay.
I think we did that like a month ago.
And one more, just for me speaking for my own, be careful what you ask for. If I was you guys, I would let the public decide what they're gonna do between the negotiations and the raise. That's all.
All those in favor say aye. Okay, is there nothing else? We're good? Motion to receive and file? Motion to receive and file from Councilman Maniscalco, second from? Councilman Hurtak. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. It is 6:42 PM. We are done.
It is
We're
still
adjourned.
light out.